Hey, all right. It's Hard Talk Radio. I'm your host, MrDeadman. And with us tonight, we have Regina Watts. How's it going, Regina?
It's going great. How's it going for you guys?
I'm doing all right.
I'm just smashing for me, man. Smashing.
I'm
doing great.
And that's Mr. Beowulf there. Victor J. How many names do you have now?
Victor J. Pee-wee Aloysius Amadeus Beowulf IV.
Wait, Victor J. Pee-wee Amadeus Hector
Close,
the
man.
Fourth? What?
Aloysius Amadeus.
Okay.
Beowulf IV.
I can't. So many names. So many names. How do you do that, Mr. Beowulf?
It's just 1 week at a time, man. 1 week at a time. You think of a gold name, you add it, and just got to remember that shit, man. Work it in.
Now, do you think
You could sing it like a song.
Do you think having all those names does it make you like a better author?
I think it just makes you a better person in general, you know.
So I need to add more names to my name. Okay, that's how it works. All right, Regina, you've been on the show, kind of, sort of. You've been on the Rant and Chill, which is kind of a variation, I guess, of this. They're kind of about the same in a way, except this is more horror focused. So Regina, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I am an author of transgressive fiction and pulp fiction, and I do a lot of different genres, and I pretty much write whatever I want, but my background is really mostly, I would say, in the genre of transgressive fiction, and that really shows up in my work a lot, you know. So I'll have, when I write erotica, it tends to be different, unique. I've got like the Dottie For You series, which is about a cannibal billionaire who falls in love with a demi-immortal girl who has the ability to come back in a new body whenever she's killed, leaving them with the ability to eat the old body. And so she can consent to all kinds of weird, horrible, homicidal behavior. So you've got that. You've got Be My Bully, which is like kind of a Twin Peaks influenced, like noir, like also kind of Blue Velvet vibes, noir with a lot of like erotica. It's erotica, but it's got a noir plot. It's great, you know. But so
that's cool.
I read a lot.
Very cool. But don't you think if she keeps dying and coming back that she's like contributing to this cannibal's gluttony? I mean, it's kind of.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah. Of course, yeah, but that's why you gotta work out as a couple. It's like you gotta develop a healthy exercise regime and keep each other in shape. You gotta push each other.
Yeah, be a good balance that way. Okay, and so tonight we're gonna get into biblical Satanism. We're gonna talk about demon waifus, and of course, Be My Bully, and other things like that. So I guess to start this off, you have a new book called. Let me try to read this title. I was an OP demon lord before I was a Sakid to this boring corporate job. Episode 1. Everybody wants to call me master.
That was pretty close. That was pretty solid, dude. You almost had it. It was technically, again, Isekid or Isekide. You're really Isekide, but
Isekide.
It's
okay.
like, I think a lot of Westerners.
Isekide sounds sexual. Like when I say Isekide, I get a little roused. I'm not gonna lie. When I say Isekide, I'm thinking perverted when I hear that word. Okay.
Well,
all right.
That probably says a lot about you, but also, I think
that's what my therapist said too. Before she said I need to see somebody else, and that it's inappropriate for me to call her master. I was like, but you're my waifu, and she did not like that very much.
My shoes and leave my office now. Yes, I don't think, that isekai is inherently, erotic as a genre or a niche or anything like that. It's a very popular trope in anime, but it occurs in the West very often. It literally means other world. So when a character gets isekai'd, for lack of a more Western expression, it's like Dorothy getting sent to Oz, or Alice going to Wonderland, where they get whisked off into another world where they have all these strange powers and adventures and things. But I will admit that, yes, it just so happens often when characters get isekai'd in anime, it's usually into the company of a bunch of gorgeous women. So,
this is nice.
Isekai.
And usually, what makes this one a little different is that isekai is usually about the joke is that the main character will get hit by a truck at the beginning and they'll be killed and sent to this other world. So Truck-kun is a meme that Truck-kun will come along and kun is a nickname. It's like I don't know if you've heard Chan.
Yeah, I know Chan.
Yeah, so
Oni-chan.
Kun is like the boy version of Chan. So Chan is more for girls. Kun is more for boys.
Oh, okay.
And so Truck-kun is this pet name for a truck coming along and killing the main character and sending them off to Iseki Land, wherever their personal heaven is, whatever, that's what it's all a metaphor for, really. But, so it's the genre is definitely very much about wish fulfillment, and I think it just lends itself to men's adventure fiction very well. And so because of that, it's really taken off as a niche in the West, but it's always about, a guy who's a programmer with an MMA fighting background, these different people who are our people from our world going to the fantasy world. And so I really wanted to flip it on its head. And I saw one day in a Reddit thread, somebody was like, I really wish someone would write a corporate isekai or isekai, where it's people are powering up and it's about, someone powerful from another world coming and being in the corporate world. And I was like, click, a little light bulb, that idea just instantly connected with me, and it bothered me all day. And then I sat down that night and I wrote the first book in 5 days, and it was great. It was fun. And then, so we're getting ready to start. I've actually started the book too now. It's about 10,000 words in, so not long now.
So wait. It took you 5 days to write this book. By the way, I have a cover of it on the screen. I could probably put the listing on the screen as well. But okay, how many pages is it? 203 pages? 202? In 5 days? Do you normally write that fast?
Well, when I'm really cooking, I write about 10,000 words a day, and that's a 50,000 word novel, so it was about 10,000 words a day. When I lived in Tucson, I used to work as a ghostwriter. That was my first professional writing gig, was working as a ghostwriter after I quit managing this window company. Because I was publishing my first novel, Delilah My Woman, under my original pen name, M.F. Sullivan. And I couldn't hack it in the corporate world anymore. I was like, I can't, I'm going to die. So I quit.
Oh, yeah, they drain your soul, man. They do.
Yeah, and it was they were nice people that I worked with and for, but I couldn't handle it. It was just too much pressure. And so I went to instantly doing something that was much higher pressure, which was writing books for people, ghostwriting, at a really cheap rate, cutthroat, horrible rate of $500 for a 50,000 word novel. Terrible rates, really bad. But it's that's what I had to do to compete in the market that was available to me at the time to build my resume. And I'm glad I did it, but it was horrible. I would get these assignments. My first one was a romance novel that was about a real estate agent who falls in love with some kind of monster man. And I was like, what kind of monster man? What? And they're like, I don't know, just some kind. And I'm like, okay, let's make him an incubus because it's a little different.
Okay.
And But so it's like I would, it would be like these horrible things, that are just so boring to me, and I would put it off and off and off and off, and the deadline is like here. And if you've ever seen like the movie Barton Fink or the movie Adaptation, where it's just like this horrible web of procrastination and pressure until you get to this moment where it's just inescapable. And so I would just get blackout drunk and as high as I possibly could. And that was when I would start to regularly write 10,000 words. I had already had a few 10,000 word days in my life, so I knew I could do it. But it slowly became a more regular thing, first with the ghostwriting, and now the past 2 or 3 years, it's pretty much my standard. If like my bare minimum word count is 5,000 words,
Man.
if I don't get 5,000 words a day at least, I feel really bad.
Well, you are focused. How do you stay so focused like that? Do you cut out all distractions? You must.
I try to as much as possible. It's hard because I have, my significant other lives with me, and he is retired and wants my attention and wants to hang out and talk to me and come in and out as he pleases. And my cat wants to play all the time, and I love him, and I don't blame him, and I want to play with him, and there's errands to run and things to do. So there are some days where it's like I can hardly write at all. And these days too, I'm a prima donna about it. Like I get up at 4:30, and I get up at 4:20, but it takes me a couple minutes to really get out of bed.
4:20 is when you wake up. That's right, 4:20.
Yeah. Yeah. I would, just wait until I'm 69 years old, waking up at 4:20 in the morning. It'll be like nice every day.
Yeah.
But so it's like I get up, before dawn even has its ass crack showing, and I get as much shit done as I possibly can in the morning. Dishes, breakfast, shower, walking, whatever. And I always try to sit down and be writing as soon as possible after I get up, like 6:30 to 7. And then I just write as long as I can. And, when an interruption occurs, then I just let it occur. And I try to get back to my writing as soon as possible and pick up my focus again. And I think it's really a combination of wanting very much to write and having a lot of fun writing, and also writing quickly. And having a good keyboard. I do have a pretty high writing speed, and I do a lot to try to maximize it. So
damn.
I keep my nails trimmed, and I described it. Man, I described it to Patrick C. Harrison as being like conditioning, as like an Olympic athlete.
Patrick C. Harrison level of conditioning. Okay, that's good.
I was talking to him about this. But it's like, for me, it's like when I am trimming my nails and getting these keyboards and stuff, it's like, Michael Phelps shaving his eyebrows or something before he goes swimming, right?
Yeah. Okay. Man, so wait, do you have I don't know if you said, but do you have a day job, or does your writing take care of all that?
My writing is my day job now. It's great. Since starting Regina Watts, I have made a full-time salary now, which is better by far than any full-time salary I ever got from corporate jobs. And so this mostly came when I switched to harem lit. When I was making erotica money, it was more like what I would expect to pull down if I had a part-time job that was like 10 hours a week. And that was like my monthly takeaway when I was just publishing these short eroticas like once a week or once every other week. But when I switched to harem-lit novels, instantly, it was just instant. It was this explosion from like one measly little part-time paycheck to the equivalent of, the best full-time job I've ever had. It's better than any full-time job I've had. So it's amazing. It's wonderful. And I'm so blessed. I have so many wonderful readers. I've been blown away by the response to this book. I mean, it's just like amazing. It's been out for a week now, and it's already to 20 reviews, and most of them are 5-star. And it's just like, it's very nice. It's really touching.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That's pretty
So
cool.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
Okay, and so let's talk a little bit more about this demon lord, Asakai. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce it.
It's hard. Isekai.
Isekai. Okay. All right. Tell us a little bit more about this book. What is this demon lord chick, and is she going to kill me? Well, like what? Do I want her to appear in my corporate job?
She's the waifu. Yeah, you do want her because. So Vic Legion is the protagonist of this book, and he's just like a computer engineer schlub at a company called Hellcom, located in Tucson, Arizona, which is the most hellish place I've ever lived, certainly. And so he sees this hot new secretary at work, who then turns out to be this sexy, busty demon babe who insists on calling him master, and also insists that he's actually a demon lord who has been trapped in what is effectively like, a prison system, which is our Earth, but it's actually an artificially created situation that's just designed to contain him in a stasis and until he dies, and then the angels controlling the planet are able to bring everything back into the unity with the Godhead that they desire, that is, destroy the Earth. So paradoxically, then the demons are kind of responsible for keeping the integrity of material reality existent.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense.
It's working out to be an interesting plot and a lot of fun. And there's a lot of room for a lot of really kinky shit, so it's a great concept.
Speaking of kinky shit, you've been saying he quite a bit. Is this a femboy, or is this is it a femboy?
The cover is the girl, the secretary.
I was hoping there'd be a femboy. I'm disappointed now.
Yeah, again, I think this is just you on the things around you, my friend.
It's okay. I go either way. I mean...
No,
3 beers in, I'm going femboy though, but I go either way. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, describe Vic for us. Is he a smoldering demon with a lot of anxiety and stress in his mind, and she's there to alleviate that? Or
Well, no, Vic doesn't even know that he's a demon until she points it out, and he's kind of like, well, he's a little bit of a jerk. He's a little bit of a ladies' man. He's a little bit of a... Because it's like, okay... When my first foray into harem was Burning Soul, which I'm still producing, and I still have 2 books left in the main part of that series. And Burning Soul is a fantasy series about a paladin who also ends up with a lot of women. And one of my main complaints that readers had about Burning Soul is that Burning Soul is not quote-unquote alpha enough. He's not an alpha. He's too quote-unquote submissive for them, which is weird to me, because to me it wasn't even written like that, but whatever, that's a whole other can of worms. But anyway, the point is that I was like, okay, so clearly I have to make Vic whatever the fuck these people think an alpha male is. So I let him be like, he's a little bit of a player, he's a little bit of an asshole, he definitely... is not in the job that he's doing, but he's still fairly good at it. And then in the tradition of these kinds of protagonists in these isekai books, they also like to see really overpowered protagonists. And so that's where the OP part of the title comes in. They love seeing OP protagonists. So, as he develops these powers, he's just becoming more and more overpowered, and is going to be conquering angels with ease and all this. So it's just increasingly fun. To me, it's like these things are almost the equivalent of Conan, or H.P. Lovecraft, or any of these old pulp stories. I feel like are reflected very much in these genres, and it's just a fun way to explore.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you want to make a very alpha. You got to put all the alpha memes like he's super Chad or something.
He's got to have a gravelly.
His muscles have
never
muscles.
takes a shower, but he smells like rose. He's got a motorcycle He didn't wear shirts all.
That's a good idea. I should give him a motorcycle, dude. You're fucking right. Thank you. Good idea.
Yep.
I gotta figure out
needs
how
a
to work
motorcycle.
that in.
We have a fucking badass motorcycle too.
Gotta
Oh,
have
shit.
a tiger picture in the background.
Yes. Have to have that. Oh man. So there must have been a lot of fun. So wait. Did you have to pull up any Chad memes or you know your alphas very well?
Here's the thing. It's like, I was really pissed off when people were telling me that Burning Soul isn't an alpha, because it's like, I'm literally an alpha male's target audience. I'm a fucking prize woman, okay? You fucking think that I don't know what an alpha male is? Holy shit. Like, fuck off. I know what a real alpha male is, you dipshit cuck.
It sounds like you're describing an asshole.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you are. Well, I was describing an asshole, and that's why I feel like Vic is kind of an asshole. And that's, part of his character that I have a lot of fun with. I like writing assholes. I like writing really mean characters. And he's not really mean. He's just kind of like, he's more self-interested, But I just, so I don't know. It's like you try to give the people what they want, but they don't know what they want most of the time, I think, too, is the other problem. So, God love them.
I mean, that's the truth, too. They don't really know what they want. They don't really know what they want. Okay.
No.
So this demon chick seems like, you're right, this demon chick is someone I definitely want to encounter in my day job, but spice things up a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the negative that happens if I interact with this demon waifu? Does she take my soul? Is she gonna...
Well, it's not the demon that's the problem here. It's that when Vic realizes who he is, that's a violation of the rules of reality, which does not allow for the existence of someone like him. So now that he is aware of himself and starting to break these seals that have suppressed his power, he is now attracting the attention of the angels that are running the simulation, and they're starting to for him and trying to kill him. And in addition to that, there's also a gang. Spoiler alert for book 2. There's like a gang of rogue demons who are also going to be trying to like seduce him into their power / keep him with his seals so they can keep their power but also keep the world intact. So there's a lot of different interest groups. So it's a very got a lot of elements of noir and urban fantasy, I would say, as well.
All right.
That's
Now,
very cool.
Mr. Beowulf, do you have any further questions about this demon lord before we move on to biblical Satanism?
Just to make sure you got the alpha down perfectly, does he have a full head of hair, or has he got a bald spot?
No, he's got a full head of hair.
Does he have a huge
messed
bulge?
up. Alphas need
So
bald
huge. Like he needs a wheelbarrow for his balls.
Yeah, he's Randy Parks. That's right.
He could bounce on them like they're medical balls, those bouncy balls. That'd be great. I think that might be a little too
It
chat.
sounds like a really, really.
Okay.
I really like.
I'm sorry, Mr. Beowulf.
I really like the concept. I mean, it sounds really cool. I mean, I know you're not your target audience, but I definitely want to check it out.
I feel like, honestly, it's like anyone who has ever worked in a cubicle would appreciate this book. I just really put a demon waifu on the cover because demon waifus sell, and it's a genre, to me, it's a light novel, and it's a genre that, is really influential on this book, and so, pay homage to it.
Well, the cover caught my eye. It, I didn't really realize I was your target audience, but now I learn that I am.
Yeah.
Okay. I learned so much in this day. But I can't tell you about it because it's pretty bad. Anyway, so let's talk about biblical Satanism, so where do we start? Like, what's? I mean, are you a biblical Satanist?
Yes, I would say.
Baal?
I would say so. I feel like biblical Satanism. Well, here, let's define terms. So
definitions.
Yes. Biblical Satanism, I would say, is to be considered as separate to philosophical Satanism, which is what is run by the Church of Satan or Anton LaVey. And then you've
that's
got...
what I thought biblical Satanism was too.
No, that's philosophical Satanism. And then you've got political Satanism, which is the Satanic Temple, and they do a lot of the political activism, putting the Baphomet statue in the City Hall or whatever the fuck it was, and all the stuff they're trying to do in Texas now, and all these different things. So they're doing something great, but they're a secular organization. And then you've also got a fringe group who I don't even really want to give a platform to, but they claim to be a satanic organization, and really they're just like a flat earth conspiracy group of fucking psychopaths. So when I'm talking about biblical Satanism, what I'm really talking about is a kind of an inherently personal inversion of Catholicism. And it's inherently personal because Catholicism, as part of an exoteric religion, is meant to be experienced in the community, as part of a community. You physically go to a physical church, or you should, and pray with your fellows. The inversion of that, the mystical kind of contemplative version of that, which I would liken to be similar to what is experienced when one goes into a convent, but once again is with one's fellows. But there's a more personal version of that, I think. But because it is inherently esoteric then and introverted as opposed to extroverted, it necessarily then has to have kind of an altered way of thinking about the faith and about the symbols presented. And so I think ultimately Satan in that sense utilized as a symbol for the self in relation to God and the world, and the mystical aspects of the religious experience, I guess.
Okay, I understand. The Satanic Bible, is that even the text that you would...
No, to me, it's like I've got my... Thank you, Busha. My great-grandmother got me this Precious Moments Bible for Easter in, I want to say, like 2001. That's right, Easter Sunday, April 15th, 2001. And I have had it ever since, and it's the only Bible I use. But it's like, so here's the thing, that all of these, especially Anton LaVey, and this is that if the symbol of Satan is something that has power, or if you feel like the actual, the thing, the Church of Satan, the philosophical version of the Church of Satan, where they're like, oh, we're atheists, but we like to self-empower, they tend to downplay Anton LaVey's more tangible beliefs in a satanic entity, a specific satanic entity. But the truth of the matter is that he did kind of lean more towards that at times in his life. And so I think when you give that symbol or that character or whatever you want to call it, that kind of power, you are automatically tacitly admitting that everything that's in this book is correct. And, it's like, so you can't follow the thought through without following it through to its logical conclusion, really. I feel like and so it becomes then this dynamic of like, well, okay, let's talk about Satan. What does Satan really represent? What is he in the Bible? Well, he's not really, in the Bible all that much, and certainly not in the ways that a lot of people think about him as being in the Bible. There are no, like, the term Lucifer gets applied to Christ in the Bible. It doesn't get applied to the devil. And there's no, like, devil. There's just the accuser who comes to Christ in the desert, and there's the serpent who comes to Eve in the garden, and there's, the great beast and the red dragon and all of these entities in Revelations, but there's, like, no, like, this guy is the antagonist of God. It's a series of transformative symbols about the self. And I think also there's a certain resonance between the symbol of Satan and the symbol of Prometheus, who also was a light bringer, much as Satan is the morning star and related to Venus. So it's like, see, I start to sound like a psychotic conspiracy theorist as we go deeper and deeper into this topic. I'm just connecting all of these symbols into this elaborate weaving. But it's very interesting. It's like a form of free association. And, it's like, as you've I think it's really about developing a personal pursuit and interest in having mystical knowledge. It's like, for me, the Garden of Eden really represents a parable about the development of consciousness. I think the experience, the clear light of consciousness, as the Tibetans call it, is different from the ego. I think, pretty much all religions agree. And I think that story is kind of about our DNA, the snake-like DNA, developing consciousness within the human race. And so I think part of being a biblical Satanist is about plunging into the knowledge of the human race and developing and expanding your own consciousness within your lifetime.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So, because you're right, because the devil or Satan doesn't really have many references at all in the Bible, not many at all. And so when you're looking at this, so you're looking at, I guess, the Bible in general, like various things where maybe not really talking about Satan himself or the devil or whatever, but maybe between the lines it's saying something that we're just not catching, or it could be applied to him or associated to him. Is that right?
Like, the part I always think the most about is when Christ is wandering through the desert for the crucifixion.
Right.
Because when he is being tempted by Satan, it's like you really have to ask yourself, is what Satan doing an objectively bad thing when he's tempting Christ? And the knee-jerk reaction is, well, of course, because he's trying to get into the way. But it's like, no, because what he's really trying to do is prove that Christ is Christ, because only Christ will turn him down when he offers these things and points these things out. If Christ did turn stones to bread and eat the bread while wandering in the desert and starving, then he would just be a magician. He wouldn't be Christ. Mm-hmm. So just the function that the devil serves is very necessary. The Talmudic devil, or as close to it as the Talmud comes, Samael, is the angel of judgment and of, basically accusation. And he's basically the prosecution. He stands with God after you die, and he says, this person did this, this, and this. It's kind of, it's kind of Egyptian, really. So it's really is the court case of the soul, right? It's the idea that Christ is the ultimate defense attorney, and that Satan comes in. it's hard. It's like when I talk about these things, you picture a cartoon in your head, a physical, a physical courtroom and all these things, but it's not like that really, but it's a metaphor, so it's like you got to stay on top of the metaphor, but the metaphor is that, you have this this part of yourself or your drive or your consciousness which wants to prove that you are better than you are by tempting you to fail. And it assesses your pre-existing failures. And then Christ is the part of consciousness which is infallible and which, in that infallibility is able to argue for your redemption without, fail. And so it's this, in constant struggle, I guess. And so really, biblical Satanism is ultimately seeing Satan not as like a force of evil, but as a necessary prosecutor. I think about it too, like proving bread, if Satan doesn't prove, that you are a being with a soul and a being who is self-investigating all the time, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be flat. You're going to have a one-dimensional life. You're not going to rise. So
that's right. And yeah, you definitely have a point there. I mean, I didn't really think about it to that level. When I think about when it comes to like the relationship with like the devil, or say when it comes to God or Christ, whatever, it's like he is needed to fulfill a role, like as a character, whatever, to show that what Christ, to show, and like you said, to show that he is Christ, because he's able to turn him down like that. But that is interesting to see it at that level. Now,
yeah.
So is this and this could sound kind of goofy, but is this like a religious outlook? Is this like something that's practiced, or is it just like a philosophy?
I think it's something that's practiced, honestly, but it's something that's privately practiced. So it's more expensive. No, so it's more like, like I said earlier, it's opposed to going to church.
Okay.
So it's inherently private. I do have like an altar, but it's not formalized. I mean, the heart of the altar is a typewriter.
When you say not formalized, do you mean that you haven't sacrificed enough goats yet, or that you need to sacrifice? I mean,
no, you're funny. I mean,
that's the cliche that people think when they think it's Satanism. I know it's such a cliche.
I get it. I get where you're coming from. I feel like it's when I say it's not formalized, I mean it's not derived from a specific practice. Oh, okay. There are a lot of occult groups or a lot of spiritualist groups who do have specific practices, like the Order of the Golden Dawn. I'm sure probably has exercises. If I look in the, yeah, I mean they do definitely in this Israel Regardi book that I have, and there are all these different groups that have, Thelema, which was founded by Aleister Crowley, has different methods of meditation and how to build an altar and how to build a temple and how your fucking robes should be and what you should eat before you do a ritual and all this stuff. And, it's like, for me, I feel like it is good to look at existing structures to, the term is chaos magician, I've heard bandied about before. But I'm so sorry, hold on.
Oh, that's no problem. Was that Jurassic Park?
So, oh no, it's just the generic ringtone.
Oh, I thought it was a Jurassic Park theme for a second.
No, sorry. So the term chaos magician is bandied about by a lot of people. And it's like a conglomerate religion, where it's a bunch of different forms of occultism that are like kind of, you're encouraged to float freely between them as a practitioner and to combine them and to kind of see what works for you and to study them and respect them all and to very deeply explore them. But at the same time, you don't want to get attached to them, because when you get attached to a structure of belief, it hampers your ability to actually cognitively think about these subjects and to think critically about these subjects. So I don't like to adhere to just one practice, but at the same time, the practices that I do cultivate from other faiths, I try to, study and take seriously.
You know what this reminds me of? Oh, go ahead. I apologize.
Mr. Beowulf, I apologize. You go first. I don't have as many names as you.
that is true. This kind of reminds me a lot of Bruce Lee's philosophy in a way, where he looks at all different forms of martial arts and takes the best from each martial art. Is that kind of what you're...
That's almost exactly what it's like, where, you really, I think it's just good to look globally at the larger pattern of religion and spirituality and occultism, and see what the lessons are really being expressed, in kind of a universal code. I really like Carl Jung and his presentation of a lot of these things, because I feel like the expression of these phenomena, these thoughts as archetypes, really helps to define kind of, I guess, the phenomenology of these emotional experiences that we have when we're talking about religion or talking about religious symbols. So I really like to kind of refer to him and then kind of think about his symbol structure and this concept of the collective unconscious and all the archetypes it contains, while I'm looking at all these different faiths and while I'm reading about, it's interesting. I mean, the patterns of symbolism, they just don't change, they alter, but, you have, everybody always wants to talk to me about consensual cannibalism because of the Dottie series.
I'm sorry, professional cannibalism?
No, consensual cannibalism.
Just make
because
sure. Okay.
Dottie series, but it's like, for me, it's a religious motif, because it goes back not just to Catholicism and Christ, turning the bread into his flesh and the wine into his blood, and the act of transubstantiation. But it's like, you've got the Egyptian, the pyramid texts have all this cannibal references in them, and these old Sumerian legends all deal with cannibalism, and you've got the Greek thing with Saturn devouring all of his children, and it's just like the list, it goes on and on and on, where it's just like constant stories of cannibalism and the repercussions of cannibalism, and cannibalism as a gesture or whatever, or cannibalism as a symbol for the Godhead within us. So I think, to me, ultimately, when I'm writing about it, it's always very, esoteric. It's not like, people always want to talk to me about the prurient aspects of it. I had a really cool article in Slate that was really interesting, but they were talking to me about it because of the Army Hammer thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, well, can you talk to us about the kink? And I'm like, well, let me tell you about me. So, I don't know, it's just, it's about just being open to the symbols of symbols, and I think it's the saying in chaos magic is the map is not the territory. So the idea is that these symbols that people get hung up on so concretely, like these fundamentalists, it's not right to think about these things in a material way, because you're talking about really metaphysical topics. You can't talk about a metaphysical thing in a physical way. I always think, when you talk to Protestants, I find that many of them tend to refer to Christ as Jesus, like they know him, like he's the guy living down the street, Jesus, the pool boy. And I feel like that's not the right approach, because there's Jesus of Nazareth, the physical man, but there's the archetype of Christ or Christ consciousness that came into the physical man and was born as the physical man paradoxically, but also like had to realize it was the physical man and empower the physical man. So I feel, it's a more complex. You can't just boil it down to a physicalized, realized, tangible set of symbols. There's like so much more to consider from many different perspectives.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. It really is. This may sound like a stupid question as well. In this religion, is there a higher power, or is it about self-empowerment? I'm trying to...
Just biblical Satanism as religion. I feel, I think, again, it acknowledges that the highest power is God, and there is only one God, and there is one singular Godhead, of which all things and all being and all reality is ultimately a part. But then the question is, why are we apart? Why are we apart from this? And then it becomes, because we ate the apple, right? And we left Eden. But it's like, okay, so that represents the development of consciousness, and how without human consciousness, we would just be apes. We would not be having this conversation. We would not have developed society. There would be no observer. It's the tree falling in the forest and not making a sound because no one is around to hear it. But because someone is around to hear it, you and me and, everybody listening to this, as a consequence of that, we're able to have these experiences and do these things. So isn't it good then that we ate the apple in Eden? But at the same time, it did bring us suffering. So how do we reconcile that? And the answer, of course, is to turn that suffering into art and let the art uplift you in this life. But then you have to not get attached to the benefits of the art. So it's this eternal kind of quandary that ultimately should always be leading to God. But I feel that, it's like, Christ will save you once you're dead, but Satan is your guy to help you live in the world, kind of, is the message.
I like that. That's kind of funny.
Okay, I'm understanding now. It makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like the other thing, I had this thought too one time when we were going down on a trip somewhere, and we drove past a big sign that said Jesus saves, and I turned to my husband and I said, Jesus saves, but Satan invests. And it's really fucking true. Satan invests in you. People always talk about making a deal with the devil and how, it's so bad. But it's like, have you considered making the right deal? Does anybody ever go to the devil and say, teach me about God? Don't you think Satan knows more
let me
about
tell you something
God
about
than
that
anybody?
guy. Oh, you want to hear about God?
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have enough time? I don't think you have enough time, human. No.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
First off, I tell you these stories, you're not going to even want to go in heaven, okay? You're going to hang out with me in hell. That's what you're going to want to do.
Well, right, and I mean, that might be even preferable. You might want to be it's like a Paradise Lost, the quote, "'Tis better to rule in hell than be a slave in heaven," and, or serve in heaven, excuse me. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe it is better to just be the devil's buddy than just be part of the nothingness of the Godhead. Which
it comes with the occasional sodomy, but that's okay. I mean, you get used to it after a while.
Yeah. On the contract you make, right? You got to be careful. Got to read that fine print before you sign it with your blood.
Yeah.
No takesies, backsies, I'm afraid.
No,
doesn't hold up.
Keep your soul in sodomy. About on a daily, just about. Speaking of sodomy, what is this Be My Bully book?
Yeah.
So, Be My Bully was the first series published under Regina. It's inspired by Japanese visual novels. So, if I had my druthers, this would have been more of a game, really. But because I just can't afford to pay an artist like that. And because I don't want to have to actually write multiple endings, I just ended up serializing it. I had it mostly done by the time I decided to start the Regina Watts pen name, and it occurred to me that I really needed like weekly or at least bi-weekly content to keep my name out there at first. So I was like, well, I can finish this thing. It was Stephen King talks about what he calls the quote-unquote toy train, which is just a writing project that you write for fun when you're either like between serious projects or you have nothing else you want to work on, but you want to work on something. And so, and he calls it the toy train because you can have fun with it and you can do all kinds of things with it and you can run it off the tracks if you want. So, I
a lot of toy trains.
So I started this thing, and it started out as just like this, sexy story I was writing for my significant other. But it like became very quickly evident that like I was riffing a lot on like bad spanking pornos. And I found that I couldn't write about the character types expressed in bad spanking pornos without them being like really troubled and neurotic people. And so Be My Bully ends up, it's about a girl named Lucia Irwin who gets sent to a school for troubled girls in her new town, Griswold. And immediately Rhododendron, the school bully, like laser focuses on her and starts like constantly sexually harassing her and getting her spanked and getting her into trouble and just like being a rotten little bitch to her. And there's another girl, Maura Reagan, the naughty redhead, who also is like completely just has problems. They all have problems. It's like you can't write about these pornographic character types without them being very troubled people.
Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of that.
Those are the best characters, though.
Yeah, that is true. Flawed characters are fun to write, and people like them.
Yeah. Especially with the spankings, that's even better.
It's like you can't disagree with that part of it. But so it wrote itself, and it became very much Twin Peaks influenced very quickly. And went in a similar, it's a murder mystery. One of a secretary is found dead in the school courtyard after like the third episode, and people start dying very quickly, and so a murder needs to be solved then. And so it gets all these noir elements. And it's really fun. It develops this big plot, and you've got like great character growth, and it's a great story. It just has a lot of fucking sex in it.
Yeah, where do they find time to investigate these murders in between the spanking?
Well, it's like you gotta ask yourself how the characters of Twin Peaks managed to do all the shit they did in like 14 or 15 fucking days, I think.
Yeah.
At one point, we're rewatching that series right now, and at one point, somebody asked Cooper how long he's been in Twin Peaks, and this is like at the beginning of season 2, like 2 or 3 episodes in, and he's like, 12 days. And it's like, no fucking way. You've not just been in Twin Peaks for 12 days. It's been like a month. It has to have been a month. But, so it's one of those things where it's like there's probably some time dilation somehow happening, I guess.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that time dilation through kinky spanking and all sorts of sexy fun. Yeah, that happens.
And open a wormhole when you're spanking your girlfriend too hard, and it's just like, oh shoot,
yep,
we froze time again.
Well, I mean, that's how it works every time. It's like it seems like time lasts longer than what it actually does. But like, how long was that? It was only 5 minutes. Again, 5 minutes? Really? I felt like so much longer. Probably telling too much about myself here, but okay, that's what I tend to do. So, Be My Bully. So if you go to the school, do you want to be bullied by these girls? Are they like the protagonists?
No.
Are they like?
Well,
are they murdering these people?
Well,
Wait, you don't want to give it away.
Lucia finds that she kind of is into being bullied by Rhoda just because Rhoda is hot. And it's like, you know, one of those things where it's like, oh, shoot, I'm actually into this. Damn. So Lucia starts to struggle with her feelings. So, but it's like a little bit of a Mean Girls aspect. It's very influenced too by like, you know, Japanese anime that are set in high schools where like the student council, for some reason, the student council just has like too much power, and you know, all this stuff is just weird and bizarre. So it's just kind of like a nod to that sort of setting a little bit, where it's like things are just like too loose and too weird at Griswold, but nobody seems to say anything about it because it's just universe is. So it's just cartoony. It's a very cartoony series, and I recently rebranded it with a new anime style cover by the same artist who's doing the Demon Lord cover, and he did a really great job. And
he did an amazing job. You know what? When I saw the cover, I instantly thought, because actually I saw this. You know, I saw this actually today. I was looking at your stuff. I was like, well, what is this? And it reminded me of Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
Doki Doki, yeah. That stuff. Have you ever played the game?
I played it a couple of years ago, probably around the same time it first came out, and it was really fun. I was really shocked by it.
Yeah, that game gets dark real fast. Mr. Beowulf, have you ever played Doki Doki Literature Club?
I've never played Doki Doki Literature Club, but I'm gonna look that up, man. It sounds like something I'd want to play.
Well, so someone told me I should get it because it's like a horror-based game, and I didn't understand until I actually like gave it a second chance. It's kind of like a visual novel. You're just clicking and you make little choices about what you want to do with the characters, or like the poems you write for them, whatever. It's all important, kind of, sort of. It changes the endings, doesn't it? It changes the endings, and what?
It's pretty streamlined. I mean, it's like you could just. It kind of just depends on which girl you choose. Kind of. It's one of those. It does kind of change the ending, but it's like ultimately, to get the true ending, you have to play the game through with all the girls anyway. So
yeah, play through the girls. Oh, here's the thing, Mr. Beowulf. Okay, this game is sophisticated. Not only do you play the game, but you have to alter the files too, because after playing it, it's like it generates files, and then you have to delete those files off your computer because the character in the game is like hacking the game, and it's generating stuff. It's so cool. Anyway, but that's a totally different thing. Highly do recommend it. But yeah, so as soon as I saw that, I got that reference, I was like, I bet you these chicks, I bet you there's some like self-harm and like some mental illness stuff going on here. So was I on the money there?
There's definitely mental illness, and I wouldn't say there's self-harm necessarily, but there's definitely like yandere shit, like homicidal girl shit. And
that's
so
understandable.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, be my bully.
Yeah, I really enjoyed writing it, and it was one of those things where it was like, I think the only way to finish it was to start serializing it through the Regina Watts pen name, because it was like I'd written it up through like the last, 2 or 3 chapters maybe still had to be written. And so those were written a la minute, kind of as they needed to come out, but the rest had already been written and just needed to be edited. So it was definitely, a good way to break into the industry a little bit in this new pen name.
That's cool.
In a new form. Yeah.
It does sound cool. It really does. Bully.
So, Regina, do you have a fantasy about being bullied by somebody? And a sort of in a spanking way,
Part of it was this character was influenced by the anime the manga at the time, Nagatoro. Don't tease me, Nagatoro-san, which is just about a young man who's being tormented constantly by an underclassman. But people really liked it, and I don't know, it had just caught my eye. And then I had just gotten with my significant other, and I was trying to woo him with my writing skills.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, maybe I can like write this thing. And so I started it, and it was fun. And like I said, and then it took a more serious kind of, or at least a deeper direction. It's still pretty funny throughout, I think, but it definitely became a more serious, a more rich exploration of character and plot than I was initially expecting. So it just, I don't know, it's kind of these various elements sort of merged, and it didn't get the title Be My Bully until right before it got published. And I was thinking about the song Be My Baby, and it was like, click, perfect title. It was perfect.
Be My Bully is definitely a catchy title, and I really love the murder mystery element. I think that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love noir. I love Dashiell Hammett, especially. He's my favorite. I've got like 3 of his books on my desk right now. So I really, I wanted to kind of work that in, because especially at the time that I was writing it, I was first really getting into noir. So it's like, because this book was written over, like, in piecemeal over the course of 4 or 5 years, there probably is a gradual improvement in writing style and kind of a shift. It's interesting, though. I felt like definitely by the end it became like pure noir, and I'm like so tired of the sex scenes. Surely the readers can feel it.
So this book this one book took 4 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I just had a bunch of other projects, and this one wasn't prioritized because it was supposed to be a gift for Babe, but because
this was the toy train that just kind of took that life. Yeah.
467 pages. I mean, that's a pretty good book.
I think it's, I want to say it's like 120,000 words, maybe 130,000. I can't quite remember. So it's pretty comfortable. It's pretty good size. It's fun. The book, the paperback that's online, has an ending that's exclusive to the collected edition, and it also has all the bonus episodes, because I used to offer one bonus episode as a mailing list exclusive, and another bonus episode was just like a free-floating one that was available on the
These bonus episodes, are they like pure fan service?
They're usually told from the perspective of Lucia's dad, Felix, who is like in the background of all this. He keeps like also getting sexually harassed by Rhoda.
Is that her dad? Her dad's in the thing too?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I want to ask?
No, it's fine, because it's not Lucia. It's just Rhoda, the bully, is also sexually harassing Lucia's dad as well as Lucia.
Oh, but he probably likes it.
And so, we don't get to see that part. What's that?
Okay.
Can you say again?
Oh, I said he probably likes that, though.
No, that's the whole point of the bonus shorts, is that he likes it.
So, I know... Are you going to do a version where, like... I know, I'm curious whether or not you can, like, add, like, art inside the book. If Amazon would allow that, if it's, like, non-safe for work art inside the book. I don't know how they would do that.
Well, because I'll be publishing it through my printer, Ingram Spark, anyway. Yeah. It's a trap to print through Amazon, but it's a different topic. Yeah, I really want to do illustrated light novels, and I keep telling my readers, if you want illustrations in the light novels, buy them. Buy everything I write. Buy my books, rate everything 5 stars, and tell your friends, because the more money I get, the more and the faster I can pay an illustrator to do sexy drawings of hot demon waifus, which I know we all want. I want it. You want it.
I want it.
Everybody fucking wants it. Okay?
So you hear that? You gotta buy a copy of her book. Buy like 2.
Come on.
Right.
You're gonna need to buy 2 because the one you're gonna mess with, you're gonna ruin. Okay.
Have you started a Patreon account by any chance, or anything like that, where you could maybe offer bonus episodes in exchange for a little bit of money, and then you could use that for the illustrations, or.
I tried to do a Patreon for like a month, and I was like, I just don't want to keep up with it. I have some other publishing stuff. I just didn't want to do the extra stuff. And then Neil Bimbo, who is a great guy and a really great author who also works in erotica and pulp fiction, he had a Patreon that had erotic content, and his Patreon got banned for having erotic content, which is bullshit. It gets words on the page. So it's very frustrating, but
you think if you could say explicit content and warn the reader that exists, which I'd imagine that they would already know that since they're fans, why ban it? If it's not present, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably some sort of investor thing or something. I don't know, some deal they have to keep super squeaky clean as an image, but
probably even Pornhub had to remove a lot of videos to keep a cleaner image to appease credit card processing companies. That's true.
Exactly.
So when porn hosting sites have to clean up their videos and they host porn, I'm just saying.
Yep. I think that's exactly what it is. I think Patreon and other sites really have to walk a fine line, and OnlyFans too. I'm sure soon they'll be cracking down on certain forms of, even spoken word content probably. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I'm always curious to see how these various, the noose tightens on these different services. Everything is Wild West when it starts, and then gradually it goes the way of Reddit, where it just becomes more and more repressive until it's like you don't even want to fucking look at it anymore.
Right.
It's weird.
The only time I go to Reddit is for, okay.
Yes, I know.
the porn subreddits are just fine. They're fine. I just said it. Jesus. I don't even know why I'm trying to be family friendly. We're trying to beat around the bush about certain things. We're talking about sex and taboos and stuff. I mean, speak of that, what is the most taboo thing you have written about?
Boy, that's hard. How do you quantify taboo?
I guess
that's a really hard question.
Probably sex scenes, right? I don't know.
We'll say taboo in the perspective of I guess what you would maybe consider the norm, I suppose, like the average.
I know, but it's like I've written a lot of really perverse shit. It's like, I don't know, is consensual homicide more perverse than consensual incest? Really? I mean, I'm really not sure which one is more perverse. It's like, how do you quantify this? So I don't know. Boy, that's a hard question. What is the thing that disgusted me the most to write? Well, okay, that's the best question. What is the
what's that? That's good.
That disgusted me the most? Two things, probably. Number one, in Dottie episode 8, there's the climax of really the whole first season is Harold is finally fulfilling his fantasy of roasting a woman alive by roasting Dottie alive. But he's in this long, extended sexual fantasy portion. He's preparing her, and after giving her a bath and a marinade and all these herbs and shit, he gives her a wine enema. Well, first he has to give her a regular enema, and then he gives her a wine enema. But the writing of the enema part, I really didn't want to write, and I had to write it, and I hated it, and I was screaming the whole time as I'm writing it, and I just hated it.
I wouldn't even know.
So,
I'm curious. I gotta read this description of a wine enema now. I'm curious.
Did he have an internal struggle with what type of wine they use? Is it going to be Merlot or White Zinfandel?
Probably, you want to cook with the wine you like to drink. That's the common knowledge. You want to cook with the wine you like to drink. So it's probably a Cabernet. and it's probably like a super expensive one because he's a fucking billionaire. Who knows? So, but it's like, you want your girlfriend to be delicious before you eat her, so you can't have shit in her, so you have to give her the first enema, and then you give her the second one for the flavor. It's like injecting your turkey, or whatever.
Strawberries out.
Yeah. Okay. But it's like so you're just kind of he's just sort of like marinating the insides of her in a way.
Cooking thing. It's a play on cooking techniques, but for a person. And so it was really fun to write and fun to imagine that part from that angle, but it was also really horrible to write because it's disgusting and to me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to kink shame. I don't want to kink shame anyone. I'm sorry if you're into enemas and shitting liquid into the toilet while your lover stares in your eyes. I don't mean to judge you. I am just saying that I'm not personally fucking into it, and I really hated writing that sequence in Dottie episode 8, which is available on Amazon.com for, I believe, $6.99 because it's novel length. Dottie is another series. I wrote that series in, I want to say, like 4 or 5 months, and it's like 360,000 words long, and I wrote it while also writing a bunch of other stuff, including, by the way, The Witch's Wicked Shorts, also known as the Seduced by Sabian Shorts, which has a lot of Fuda stuff and a lot of Lady Boy stuff. What?
You said Foodist or Buddhist?
Yeah, Futas.
Oh, that. For the okay, I thought it was, okay, I got you. The
chicks, my friend, chicks with dicks.
Chicks
and
with
I don't
dicks.
mean trans people, I mean females with penises that are usually magically appearing.
Yeah. It's really weird. It's interesting. Not that I looked into it or anything. Not that I know anything about that. Man. Oh, I gotta reveal too much. Oh, that's cool. This is cool stuff. And this writing you're doing, you're making a living off it, and you're enjoying it. You're paying your bills with this, and you worked hard for it, and you got a fan base.
So blessed. I'm really lucky, and I'm really happy that I spent the first 5 years in publishing just struggling to get why I couldn't get people to read my books, and then I realized that I wasn't writing things that were fun and that people wanted to read. I was writing things that I thought were important. And it's like, who wants to come home and read an important book? You want to come home and read a fun book.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to buy, And I think when I kind of had that attitude shift, and when I also changed my attitude about what constitutes important writing, I think all writing is important and can be important and should be important and is important. So I feel like, it is what you make it, man.
It is what you make it. All right. Yeah.
That's right.
So now, do you have a favorite horror movie? I asked this with all my guests here on the show.
I really have been in a very Suspiria mood lately. I love Suspiria.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah. You mean like the original
or the remake?
Sure.
Okay.
I love the aesthetics of that movie. It's so beautiful, and it's so just like weird and nightmarish and just like really disorienting. And that soundtrack is like the best horror movie soundtrack. Fucking the best soundtrack period of all time. I listen to it all the time. It's great to just listen to. So fucked up and weird, but it's great. I love it. That's probably my favorite horror movie right now, at least. Night of the Living Dead, though, is another really one that's near and dear to my heart. I fucking love that movie so much. That ending just depresses me so much, though. It's really hard to watch it all the way to the end sometimes, though, man, because it's like, oh, fuck, you made it, and you get shot by the cops. No! I just hate it. It's so sad. But now I want to know, I don't think I've caught what your favorite horror movie is.
Oh, my favorite horror movie? Oh, easy. It's everyone's favorite horror movie, and this is true. It's The Dark Tower.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's hard to get through it.
I'm just messing with you. No, The Dark Tower is definitely not it.
Yeah.
No, my favorite horror movie. I always go back to Halloween, like the original, because that's the one that really got me into horror. I was watching it with my mom. She was watching it, and she invited me to watch it with her because I was, and I have a thing for slashers. I do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
What about you, Mr. Beowulf?
Oh, definitely. For me, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was the first time I watched it. That was really just. That's the only time I've ever been disturbed was when I watching that. When the old guy was trying to knock her in the head with a hammer, you know.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Said that.
Still
I
my
love
favorite.
that movie.
And I mean the original. I'm not talking about any remakes.
Right. The original's where you go. It was such a good movie, and the way they made like the shots look like you're watching something you shouldn't be watching. Like the camera wasn't like a cinematic shot. It was like this camera was like left behind right there, like found footage. Almost looked really good. Looked like you're just kind of peeping in onto something you shouldn't be a part of. You know, like a fly on the wall.
Oh yeah, yeah, man, yeah, totally.
Okay, well, Regina, it was great in having you on Horror Talk Radio to talk about waifu demons. Got to trust them. Always say yes to them. Biblical Satanism. Learn more about that today. And bullies. Oh, you know, I didn't ask. I guess I asked you, Regina, who you'd want to be bullied by, but I didn't ask Mr. Beowulf. Who would you want to be bullied by?
Hey, listen, I'm available anytime, anywhere. So if anybody wants to bully a young lass like me, or lad, I've been. Come on, man. Come on.
And remember how many names he has. Okay, the more names, the better. What? the better.
The better the person, the better the experience. I'll add a new name next week. So if you want to, to slap around somebody, VictorJBeowulf@gmail.com. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, and the long name is definitely not compensating for anything. It's totally good. You don't have to bring a magnifying glass or play Where's Waldo or anything. You'd have to do that with me. Okay, you want to play Where's Waldo? You come to my DMs. No. All right, Regina, it was great having you on the show. This is fun. This was a lot of fun.
Being here. Thank you so much for having me on. It was great, guys.
Yeah, this is a super serious show. I'm glad you were able to keep it super serious and family friendly.
Totally. Love it. We're a Christian organization here, Horror Talk Radio.
That's right. After this, I'm going to start my family-friendly Christian Minecraft server. Okay? Okay. Anyway,
there you go.
Y'all have made it this far. Press the like button, share, subscribe. You guys take it easy. And that's that.
All right.
Good night.